Um, I, I like most Singaporeans going through school, I was not very politicized at all. I just stuck to my books, like how a lot of people did. But I went over to the UK for my education, for my university education. And it was there that I became more exposed to the fact that there were people in Singapore who were in prison for their political ideals for decades. And here I'm talking about the 1970s as a young student in London. And I became more politicized, and I joined the student union, the student movement. I came back in the early 1980s, and I began participating in the campaign, in the general elections campaign, to defend J.B. Jeyaretnam's single seat that he had, opposition seat in the Anson constituency. And I enjoyed that. This is a fabulous man, and I'm so pleased that I was able to get to know him and to partake of that historic time. After the 1984 general elections, I went on to write for The Hammer. But I never joined the party because I wasn't sure that political party, getting into political party was really the thing for me. And then, in 1987, I was arrested. So your vision, my vision, I like to see Singapore being more democratic. I like to see Singapore having that freedom of speech where people can actually exercise their powers of thought. And I do not like individuals, especially the poor, being put down. I declare that I am left of center. I'm left leaning, in the sense that I am, I do have compassion for the poor. And certainly the thing is that one of the political actions that really incensed me was this thing over the graduate mother scheme. I don't know how many of you have heard of the graduate mother scheme in this audience. It was long ago when Lee Kuan Yew decided that basically those mothers who have university education are likely to procreate children who will also succeed better in this competitive world. And that, to me, is just a sham. All right, it's just a sham, and infuriated me. And it was one of the agendas that actually, incensed me to the point of action. So when the arrest came in 1987, frankly, I was no conspirator. I didn't really have a big political vision to go into any political party either, because if I had, I would have joined the Workers' Party. Of course, I think the things that they were said against me was that, this guy didn't want to, he was infiltrating the Workers' Party, but they will say what they want to say in order to justify their actions. But, that was where things came from. So I never really have a big vision. All right, but just like many people who are incensed by a lot of actions around them, I like to be involved in civil society. I like to be involved in even political parties. To write for The Hammer, of course, no longer. But yeah, so that was me.
Vincent, would you like to respond?
I didn't have very big vision while I was actually in the seminary training to be a Catholic priest. I was in fact very pro-PAP. I was making fun of my colleagues in Malaysia, and sometimes even telling them that what they need is a dose of Lee Kuan Yew and the PAP government in Singapore. All that changed very much when I was involved in community organizing in Taman Jurong in the 1970s. For once in my life, I never realized that such things were happening to the poor people in Singapore. And by poor people, I mean people of the lower income group and migrant workers from Malaysia at that time. It really smashed my glorification actually of the government of the day. And in the organizing work that we were doing, we were being pressured because the method of work that we were doing was to organize people for power to solve their own issues. The government didn't like that kind of methodology. So from that time onwards already, I was actually put under the radar of the ISG. Later on, I joined a legal firm, and because of the issues there, we formed a trade union. The members of the union in my firm elected me to be the secretary, but NTUC barred me from holding any position. I found out the answer was Vincent Cheng is not allowed to hold any official position in the trade union movement in Singapore. So from that time onwards, I realized actually that I was under the radar for what I thought was normal social action, normal social work that I was doing. I wasn't promoting any violence, but why is it that I was targeted? But I didn't quite realize, because I took up more social work, social action work, under the auspices of the church. And yet, 1987 happened. So my vision has all along actually been to work and to struggle for social justice. I have no other big vision.
Thank you, Vincent. Geylang?
Okay, like many of you, yeah, I too don't have big visions and all that. My political awakening actually started in 1976 when I was in the Polytechnic, and within the first 2 months when the school started, my seniors who were standing for the Students' Union Council were arrested. And that was when I was introduced to ISA, because I don't have any awareness at that time of such thing called ISA. And as a 16-year-old at that time, you begin to question, why is there such an act? And how come nobody talk about it? And who do you ask all these questions about ISA and the history and why are these people taken? So this was the beginning of my political awakening. Proud to be a Singaporean. My answer is always, yes, I'm proud to be a Singaporean, but it's not what we have been brainwashed to think, that we have the best infrastructure, best port, best airport and all that. These are just physical buildings. I will be proud to be a Singaporean if we really work as a nation to build a society based on what we ask our children and students to say every morning, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality. And justice must be seen to be done. And do we have the political will to say that we really build a justice based on the pledge that we take every morning? This is the question that I ask.
Okay, I certainly do not have a vision of what I want in Singapore. As usual, I will always say I'm always a late developer. I went to the university, I went through it. I was not involved in anything political. But I find that, the way life goes on in after you go through university, it's like something is missing, and I did not enjoy going around with friends that play mahjong in the weekend, go disco dancing, or things like that. And then when I started mixing around with other people that start talking about social justice, talking about the poor, it kind of rang a chord in my heart, that this is something that which I identify with. So, and I think also I started teaching in this school, and most of my students were all from social backgrounds that are really quite poor, and I could see that they are not going to succeed, very much. Maybe the top 3 classes, all the rest seems to be like all meant to go to the factories to work. And of course, I get to meet people like Vincent and some friends who are from the church groups. And when they start talking about social justice and fighting for social justice, fighting for the underdog, it really is something which I feel I identify very much with. And then, of course, I was introduced to drama. I was never really involved in drama, but suddenly I found something which I really liked. And it's through drama that I feel I am able to bring out issues of society which can reach out to people. And that's it. And so, and just before I was arrested, actually, all those plays which I put up was not like intended to hit out at the political system, but it's just looking at the policies and say, hey, these policies are not right, they're not good. I need to do a play because we have been invited to take part in these festivals, and so I started doing plays, and what can I do? Perhaps let's look at the newspaper. And I look at the newspaper, and I studied them, and then I write little skits about all the things about the social issues of the day. In 1985, 86, all those social issues are exactly the same issues that is happening now, but maybe it's even worse now, okay? I talk about the CPF. I talked about, of course, I talked about the graduate mother scheme, but actually I just did it not very deep. It's just skits, I talked about the education system, it's creating so much stress with all these youngsters, and it is, again, just something that you can laugh about. And of course, I talk about the government, wanting to control us and things like that. Yeah, but I thought, I am very open. I'm not talking about communism. I'm not talking about, what you call armed struggle. Should be okay, I don't think I'm going to ever get arrested, so I got quite bold, So I started criticizing a bit more in my second play. Yeah, so vision, no, but I would say that I still believe that, and I salute to all the theatre people who continue to use theatre to bring forth issues of injustice, of the plight of the underdog, to let the audience, to let the ordinary people know and be more aware about, and such things. I wish that I could continue to do this, but I'm getting a bit tired of, really being involved as in a theatre directly. Yeah.
So want to hope that it is the young people who really have to think, what kind of Singapore do you really want? Are we sending all our young people to the university to be yes men and women just because they control everything in your life?
Similarly, I don't expect anything from this government regarding our arrest, about reconciliation, nothing. I don't expect that. But I expect our government now to really behave better, all right, towards activists. Don't just, bully them by getting the police after them, making people afraid of losing their computers and losing their laptops because they are afraid, I did this, did I break a law? Or if I did, the police are coming after me, and they don't need a warrant of arrest. I mean, such kind of unnecessary fear, and we are just doing something, just organizing an event which is open and supposedly free, all right, above board. I expect the government to care also for the poor, to when they want to care for people who are struggling to live, really care by giving policies that really help them, not policies that give them something and then take back, and then after that ask them to apply again. Things like this. I expect the government a lot, actually, to really care for the people in Singapore, not just for a particular elite group, who already has enough money and resources to care for themselves.
Thank you both. Hello. Just a minute. We haven't finished yet.
I too don't expect much actually from this government. After all the experiences that we have, even 30 years after the episode, we still are not in any way attempting to abolish the ISA. So in this light, I don't have high hopes that anything will change very much. I think Singapore has to experience a deep crisis. Then I think things will change. I think the very fact actually that mass media is controlled, controlled totally by the state, this situation will not actually be very helpful in bringing about change.
I think in Asia, there are a lot of authoritarian regimes. And what I see in the last 30 years is that there has been some movement that's come out of that. I see Taiwan, that had a very bloody past. I see Korea with Park Chung-hee, very, very bloody. And they have turned around the corner. They have become, great powerhouses, not only of the economy, but they have also become great powerhouses of, allowing people to speak up on democratic values. I think these are strengths, and I think this is where Singapore ought to learn from. So while I do not have very much, like my colleagues up here, do not have very much faith that these fellows will come round, I hope, my fervent hope, that I think in time, things will. I think, for instance, the fact that they allowed this 1 hour documentary and give it an R21 is probably a hopeful sign.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Ben Social Club. Hello, I'm City Boy, and I hope all of you will give me your support by subscribing to Ben Social Club. Why? Because Ben Social Club is a platform for ordinary folks like us, all of us, so that our voices can be heard. Yeah, we may not be well spoken, but we speak from our hearts. So Let us all support YouTube channel Ben Social Club. Thank you.